Editing Becky here. Just to say, this unscripted video is brought to you by too much coffee and not enough human contact. I'm really sorry if at any point it comes across as preachy. I didn't want it to. I really want this just to be a very open, honest conversation that helps, you know, maybe one person. Thank you for watching. Here's the video. Please excuse me moaning and groaning like an old woman. I've been doing a sewing project that involves sewing eyelets. Oh, I've got hair in my eye. Oh, not ideal. The cat was in here yesterday and she's just left hair everywhere. Hello! I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about something I noticed from my last video. This is very impromptu. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I noticed when I posted that video about failing to live in London that a lot of people, bless them, and I really appreciate it, rushed to my defence and said, "You haven't failed, you're not a failure, it's all good, you're fine." And yeah, I'm not a failure. But I wanted to talk about where this attitude towards failure comes from. Different people's relationship to the word within them or as something that happens. So I asked on Instagram, I think the exact question was, what does failure mean to you? And I got a really interesting range of responses. I kind of want to talk about them one at a time. They're totally anonymous, I'm not going to share anyone. I think failure is something very personal when it happens. I don't want to name any names, and this is absolutely not you should not feel like this. It's more, I don't know where we've picked this up from. And I think maybe it needs to change. So if you have any thoughts on anything I've said or you want to add anything, please, I'm going to try and carry on the discussion in the comments below. And thank you to everyone who's sent in responses. They're really interesting and very useful, I think, for talking this through. I've got my responses here. I'm going to put an anonymised version up here on this side of the screen for you to have a look at. The first one I'm going to talk about is the difference between an external situation being a failure and you yourself being a failure. Someone said that a failure for them means never being enough, never achieving enough, which is kind of both sides of that coin. I think never achieving enough, always striving, is something that a lot of people feel, and I have to admit, personally, I know that I set really high standards for myself, and if I succeed, then it's just what I expected to happen, and if I fail, then I've really let myself and my high standards down. That never being enough thing, that's really hard, and I'm sure a lot of people feel like that. It's something I used to feel all the time, and I've had to really work on not telling myself, because it wasn't coming from anywhere else, that I'm a failure, because that kind of implies that that is something you are, it's inherent to you. You're never going to succeed because failure is just a part of you. I've been listening to a bit of Alan de Botton on a fabulous podcast that I will recommend again later called How to Fail with Elizabeth Day. And he said, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? You die. In that really reassuringly stoic way. But I think that's really helpful because up until that point there is always potential for you to both succeed and fail, but one doesn't negate the other, and neither of those things are actually part of you, who you are. You are not a failure. And I've got to say, I know the person who sent me this, you are not a failure. You are a wonderful, amazing, talented human being who's got so much time to play around with things, see how they go. Just because one thing doesn't go right doesn't mean you are not a successful person. There were a couple that were kind of task focused. Not achieving set goals, exam grades, securing a job, making a bad presentation was one of them. Not getting the outcome you wanted regardless of what you put into the situation. The not achieving set goals, exam grades, securing a job, I think that's what a lot of people think of as failure. We're given all these big life markers, especially in academic arenas, that we're expected to hit, and sometimes if you don't, then it feels like you've failed. And sometimes they will literally tell you, you failed this module, you failed your driving test, you failed to get the promotion you wanted. Heck, I'm failing every day because I'm not getting a job. I've been doing loads of job applications and I've only had one interview. That not getting what you wanted, even though you put, like, regardless of what you put into it, is perhaps the hardest kind of failure, because you know you did everything you could and it still didn't go right. I don't think we're ever taught to embrace that, or at least in my generation at school we were told you can do anything as long as you work hard enough, as long as you put your mind to it, you can do anything, you can achieve anything. And they always like success, success, success. They never talked about failure, and I wonder whether we can change that in future and say failure is a part of success. Like, you have to try and sometimes you will fail. That's okay, and that's actually quite good. And I think I'll talk about fear of failure in a moment, but that like, I wish that when I was growing up, my teachers, my peers had normalised failure rather than normalising undiluted, unrelenting success and achievement and attainment. Sorry, I'm sliding off the bed. I wonder, like, if we actually normalised failure as process, not something that defines us, would, I don't know, would I feel more able to celebrate my successes, because I know that failure is an option and it's okay. Like, would that success then feel even greater knowing that it wasn't straightforward? I don't know, I'm just waffling now. I'll read you another one someone else is talking about. There was a lot of talk about perfectionism, like how we're perceived by others as well. So one person wrote, do something to the exact perfect standard you or others have been told it should be. Oh, so this is the first part of a longer one, which kind of hits the nail on the head, really. I think failure is tied up in this idea of almost winning and losing. And if you don't do something to the exact perfect standard you or others have told you it should be, then you should see that as a failure. So that's part one. And someone else has written, how I am perceived by others. I often won't disclose something I'm doing so that I can't fail. I've done that. I won't tell people I'm doing something, or I won't do it if I don't think I can do it well enough, perfectly. To any fellow perfectionists out there, it's a struggle. I need to get better at practicing failing. I'm sure that people who do competitive sports get used to it, failing often. I wonder if our measure of success needs to change a little bit as well, because it's very numerical, it's very based on what other people think. It's very judgy. And I know personally that I've always struggled with only getting validation when it's from other people, when it's external and when it's grade focused. And that's something I still need to work on, is that feeling in here, I've succeeded at something, and it's okay that it's only a small thing, but it's a thing. And recognising all the little things I failed at on the way to get there, and knowing they're okay too. I'll be someone who makes videos on the internet without telling you that my camera died, so I'm really sorry if the framing is slightly different. Where did I get to? Fear of failure. I used to be really scared of failing, still am, to be honest. Every time I post a video I think, what if people don't like it? What if it wasn't good enough? What could I have done better? Maybe if we talked about it more, we'd be less scared of it. If things like Instagram weren't just highlights reel, maybe if we were more honest with ourselves and with the people around us about when we fail. I don't know about you, but when I think about times when I failed and didn't tell anyone, that feels quite shameful. And it really shouldn't, because we all learn from things that we have made mistakes with. The second bit of that super long and very helpful response. In a more mindful approach, we are learning to see failure as an opportunity to learn and improve. Something natural, important and good for growth. Yes, that one. Yeah, I think when we don't talk about it, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you about it, we want to push it away, not acknowledge that it's happened, and turn it inwards on ourselves, and I don't think that helps make failure an external thing that happened as a one-off incident. I think that helps internalise it, which is really not healthy and not good for us or anyone else, because it makes me angry that we are taught to see failure as something personal shameful and private. So I suppose I'm committing here to making my failures public and talking about them, acknowledging them and learning from them. That's helpful for me. It reinforces the fact that it's a stumble, not a full-on flat on your face, never getting up again situation. And it helps other people to see that you fail at something doesn't mean you are a failure, and it doesn't mean that you can't eventually do the thing. It just means you've got to practice. And I hate practicing. I hate practicing. I wish I was good at everything all the time, but contrary to what I was taught at school, you can't be. Unless you're Christine McConnell, whose oil painting video, she was like, oh, this is only the 10th one I've ever done, and it was like this masterpiece. So I think either people are failing privately and not telling people about it and passing it off as this massive instant success, or they're, I don't know, not human. To be human is to fail, I think. I have to admit, I've done a lot of work on this myself, and I probably wouldn't be talking to you about this unless I felt like I could commit to talking very publicly about failures and felt comfortable. I listened to How to Fail with Elizabeth Day pretty religiously. I love it. I love the concept of it. She says learning how to fail is actually learning how to succeed better. So I'm going to link that down below. She's also got a book, which is great. I loved it. I binge read it. I also really like Kathy Hayes' video on failing forwards. I think that's fabulous. And I will put some other links to stuff that I kind of found helpful and encouraging in the description bar below. Thank you again to anyone who sent in a response. Thank you for helping with the conversation. If you want to and you're feeling confident enough, please do leave a comment telling us about a time that you failed and maybe what you learnt from it, how it changed the path you were on. But I don't know. I don't really know how to end this video. I'm failing to end the video. I'm failing to end this video well. But I will keep practicing. YouTube is something I'd really like to get better at, and I fail at it constantly. I hope you're all well, I hope you're safe. I'm starting to go a little bit stir crazy because this is coming up on week 14 of lockdown, mum's sheltering, shielding, that's what it's called, shielding. So I haven't really been anywhere or done anything or talked to anyone apart from my one friend Jess, who I went to have coffee with last week, and it was lovely. So let me know how you're doing. I hope you're holding up okay. Stay safe, wear a mask. I'm just going to keep telling you that. Wear a mask. Don't fail to wear a mask, because that's one failure I will not allow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all very soon. Bye. And never achieving. Never achieving? I failed to not pick the spot on my chin that is now kind of like a small mountain. Oh god, I'm not supposed to use technology. Help me, please.